What's going on, guys? JD at JD's Custom Buggies. Super excited because about a month ago I was able to acquire this ATC 200X. Kind of added my collection of 85s. So this makes the third one in the collection. I have a 85 Ducati now, 85 Quad Racer, and found this 200X. And for some reason, growing up, going to the dealership, seeing the same bike in the dealership like I did with the Ducati and the Quad Racer, and I used to frequent them all. So it would just be like, hey mom, can you take me to whatever, Cooper's Cycle Ranch, which was on Route 33 in Hamilton Square in New Jersey. Cool, really cool Honda store back in the day. And just to look at stuff. I mean, I was a diehard Kawasaki kid, but it didn't matter. I just, at the time, ate, breathed, drank, pooped motorcycles. That was it. Any magazine I could get my hands on, anytime I could go to the dealership, that's what I wanted to do. And for some reason, I mean, the ATC 250R looked really badass, but for some reason, the 200X just kind of, I don't know, just kind of took a liking to it right off the bat. I like the color scheme on it. I like the fact that, like in '84, it was more of kind of an orange and red, and with the white tank. And then in '85, they switched to like the red, white, and blue theme. But the bike I always had a warm place in my heart. I just thought it was a cool little bike. You know, absolutely as a kid, you just want the meanest, baddest, fastest bike you can get your hands on. Now that I'm older or whatnot, I have probably more of an appreciation because this was probably the ultimate play bike for an ATC till the 350X came out. But it was just sporty enough. I looked up the horsepower. They claim it's got a whopping 12 horsepower, which is probably true because I don't think my TRX 300 has more than that when I looked it up. But there was just something about it nice. It just seemed a little more compact, a little more stout, you know, kind of like a pug little pit bull. So I happened to be on a hunt, found this, talked to the owner, got it for the right price. It runs. And it was a ridden bike. This guy was riding it constantly. In fact, the weekend I bought it, if he didn't sell it to me, he was going the next day to go ride it. So, bike fires up, runs good. There's a couple things, obviously aesthetically. We have some tape on the seat. But I mean, it's a decent shaped ridden bike, you know. So, and I mean, the thing is 38 years old. He was up front with me, told me the fork seals leak. And that the master cylinder, he had a problem with the brakes. So he had bought some Chinese master cylinder, the holes didn't line up, so he's got it bolted in one hole and zip tied in the other. But it was what he could do at the time to get some brakes. He slapped some new tires in the back on it. Front tire, I believe, I almost want to say it looks original. But I love projects, I love working on stuff when I have the time to do it. So immediately I get this thing home and I start Googling everything I could find about ATC 200Xs. Where can I find parts? So went on a parts hunt. Hit a couple different places. I mean, eBay was the main source. I hit a couple forums to kind of do some reading, and then the other source was I got some goodies from BBC Trikes we're going to try out. So basically, as far as the project, you know, most people say, "Oh, keep it original." The problem with keeping things original is that it costs an arm and a leg to keep things original, and I would love to. But my theory has always been, whether it's a car or a bike or a quad or whatever, if you can't keep it original, then just go for your own kind of look, you know. So that's kind of the route I went. It's hard to find parts for these. Plastics are, you know, if you can find original plastics, they're super expensive. If they're in good shape, they're much more expensive. Meyer Plastics, who seems to be the main source for ATV and older, you know, ATV plastic parts. I looked through my vendor's site. Yeah, the only thing they have listed on the site is the rear fender, unavailable. So I did take the cheap, easy route. I went on eBay and found some cheap plastics. The reason why is I want to take these plastics off, keep them original, because I do plan on taking this thing out and riding it, you know, and I just want it to look new. I mean, the whole thing, I get my joy mostly out of doing a certain amount of, you know, work or restoration to it, so I just want to see what I can do with it, and my plan is to give it a little bit more modern look, make it functional and modern. So there goes my hunt. So the first thing I wanted to do is get rid of the 11-inch front wheel. It's very hard to find tires for 11-inch. You know, 11-inch was a Honda thing for a while, probably some other manufacturers too. I mean, can't think of any off the top of my head, but definitely like my TRX 300 came with 11-inch wheels. So it's hard to find 11-inch tires. Not a lot of manufacturers making 11-inch tires. So to modernize, I want to put a 10-inch wheel on it and put a more modern tire on it. Problem with that is I started looking up, couldn't find a wheel. This is a very odd lug pattern. If I remember correctly, the lug pattern on this front wheel is like 4 on 190. So I started hunting for a 10-inch 4 on 190, and the only 10-inch I could find was a 4 on 170. I'm like, well, that came on some three-wheeler. So then looking at it, discovered that in '86 they changed the lug pattern. Okay. So there were manufacturers that were making aftermarket wheels, 10-inch with 4 on 170 pattern. What'd that come on? Well, it came on the '86 200X. So then I got to thinking, well, what would I have to swap to make that wheel work on this? The hub. Will the hub work? I think it might. It looks like it might. And I found some on eBay. And then reading in some forums, yeah, it just confirmed it. If you want to put a 10-inch wheel, just swap the hub out for an '86. So that's one plan. The other plan is I'm going to get rid of the 8-inch tires and I'm going to go with 10-inch wheel or 8-inch wheels and get put on 10-inch wheels. I got some DWTA 5s. They're going to be all the way around. They're all going to be in black. I think that'll be a cool look. I love black on black. So I'm going to shrink the rear size down to a 20-inch tire on a 10-inch rim. The front is going to be a 22-inch tire on a 10-inch rim. It's going to lower it a little bit, but I think it'll look cool, and this is an experiment for me. If it doesn't pan out the way I think it will, then I'll do some tire swaps on the wheels. But I'll figure that part out. The other thing, I think I might have mentioned already, I got a seat cover. I'm going to attempt to remove this seat cover. He's got tape on it, so apparently there's some holes. And so I did acquire another seat cover, and I'm going to try and hopefully that foam's in good shape and I'll be able to recover that seat. The headlight I haven't decided what to do with because the other main project is the fork seals leak on this. And I can buy a bunch of used ones, but for what people want for used forks that might not be working or might need to be reworked or rebuilt, pretty expensive. So what I've decided to do is I went up looking on BBC Trike site, and they make a conversion kit. They actually make triples out of billet, and basically it's a fork swap. So what's going to end up happening is these stock forks are going to come off. I'm going to box everything. Eventually I might even rebuild this, clean all these parts up and save them, because I do save everything. So I'm going to need a big ass box for all the parts that I'm going to take off this thing. So I'm going to save the plastics, headlight, and everything else. Headlight I'm not so sure about because I don't think it's going to mount to the new triples. Plus the headlight it's in good shape, but it's not in perfect shape. So I might do something with an LED light in the front to modernize it. But with these triples, I'll be able to swap out for CRF 150 forks. They're an inverted, more modern inverted fork. They're thicker. These forks are kind of wimpy compared to today's standards and whatnot. So I did find a good set of forks on eBay, made an offer on them, got a good deal on them for what they are, brought them in. The other thing that I haven't quite figured out is, yes, I'm swapping the bars out because the kit that came from BBC actually has the anti-vibe dampeners, because these clamps are built into the triple and the other ones are more modernized, they bolt in. So I'll be able to use like an oversized tapered bar. Then I'm going to switch out the controls. We're going to swap out the levers on this thing. So by the time we're done, it's going to be a whole different look. I'll go through the parts with you because I haven't laid out on the floor because I'm pretty much about to tear into this thing. The other thing that I did now motor-wise, motor seems to run good. I'm probably going to stick a compression checker on there and give it a couple kicks and see what I got. I did find a DG pipe for it. They seem to be the only ones who make stuff for this older Honda stuff as far as pipes. So we're gonna swap it out for a DG pipe. It's probably gonna give it a little more oomph. The carburetor, I don't know exactly what size is on there, but looking at it, the slide barrel is very small. So I'm gonna attempt to do a Mikuni VM26 swap on this. I'm hoping it'll make a more reliable starter, be easier to start, and I'll have all the jets from it because we use these carbs on the buggies all the time. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to kind of, get some little bit of extra juice out of it, and be able to jet it right after I put the pipe on. So that's the plan. I won't know that until I get the tank and thing. I need to see how much room I got, and then I got to see if I have a manifold that will fit this head that I can slide the carburetor into. Looking on the floor here, just in case I missed some stuff, I did find a stock master. These two things here are basically like itty bitty Nerf bars. They're basically heel bars. They bolt onto the stock pegs. Stock pegs are in decent shape. I might do something different with the peg wise, but I seen them on eBay. I just scooped them up. But they bolt on the back side of the peg and just help keep your heel from or your leg from slipping down in there. So it's kind of like a tiny Nerf bar. Got a new skid plate for it. Aluminum skid plate. Looks like it'll give it a little more coverage all the way around. Here's our 86 200 front hub. Grab this grab bar for the back because the grab bar on the back is all bent up. So I'm going to swap it out for that one there. Here's our DG pipe, 2 pieces. These are our CRF 150 forks, and that's what we're going to swap it out with, and we're going to do that with these triples here from this BBC kit. It also gives you a rotor adapter. So the one thing that I did miss when I ordered all this stuff was didn't even think about the caliper and the rotor. So this spacer here, it's hub centric for a CRF 150 rotor, which is a 4-bolt pattern, and then the ATC has a 3-bolt pattern. So this actually bolts up to where the rotor will go, and then this will basically fit the right size rotor on there. The other thing I didn't order that's on its way is the caliper. I had to get a CRF 150 caliper. And the other thing is, I'm looking at, and I haven't figured all this out yet, but looking at the picture, then I know I just figured it out in my head. All right, so looking at the pictures, I'm gonna say probably the caliper mount. Yes, all right, so the caliper mount, I noticed from the BBC pictures that the rotor's on the left side instead of the right, and now just looking at the fork, I just figured out why. It's because the caliper mount's on the left side instead of the right. So I'm going to assume that I'm just going to put the hub in backwards. We're going to see how that works. Plastics. The plastics are just cheap, Chinese, really affordable. I mean, you can feel the actual, they feel a little stiffer, maybe a little more brittle than the stock plastics do, but I really just want to get the stock plastics off and maybe play with cleaning them up and just keep them in case I ever need them, or if I ever sell the bike. I got the original plastics with it. That seems to be a more of a value point. But this will get the red back without doing a lot of work or risking hurting the stock plastics while I'm riding. Here's our new seat cover. Here's our new controls. This is actually just a replacement master for a TRX 450. Okay, I probably could have chosen CRF 150. Didn't think about it, but the reason why is I wanted to put the more modern and the flip levers that don't break. I actually use these same levers on my YFZ 450. I have another set for when I start working on the KFX 450. I really like the lever. I've actually rolled the YFZ and the lever stayed intact. They just kind of bend and go wherever. So, and then I got a clutch, same color, but it's clutch lever for the other side. And then tires and wheels. So here's this one my vendor didn't carry, and I'm a DWT dealer, but they don't have this one. So this is our 41170 A5 wheel in black. And so I had to get that on eBay. The other two we had in stock, and they're going to be basically A5, black A5 10-inch wheels for the rear. 4 on 110, so they should bolt right up. So that should be, that'll give me like instant gratification. But so the main thing I'm going to do is try and get as much of this Ford kit on as possible and see if the components I've got, we can get this being a roller again, so I can push it around the shop when I'm done. So that's going to be the first mission, is basically get the front end done. Once the front end's done, we can mount up the wheel and the tire, slide it on there. I will wait for the rotor. The rotor comes in a couple days from now. I'll just pop the wheel off, put the rotor on, put it back on, along with the caliper. And that works out. Then I can just mount up my rear wheels and get all these plastics off. Kind of scope the amount of real estate I've got down there for a slightly larger carburetor, which will be the VM26. And then with the plastics off, should make it easier to get the pipe on. So that's where we're at right now. Like I said, I just gotta, as far as the tank's in good condition. There's no rust inside the tank. There's a couple paint chips up here. I'm gonna try and clean it up the best I can. The little air fins that mount to the side of the tank, they're in good shape. Probably just polish them up a little. And probably when it's all said and done, I'm gonna have to give this thing a good power washing for the motor or whatnot, just to get it a little bit cleaned up. But I'm really psyched about this. Like I said, this has just been, I never owned one, but looking at it and just wishing and whatnot has always been a part of the childhood. So that's where we're at right now. Stay tuned. Should have some more stuff on this real soon. If you need parts, go to GotBuddies.com. You want to follow MBX. The MBX season just ended, but you can follow all the videos and whatnot, and stay tuned. If you live in Florida and you're interested in participating in MBX and have a buggy, hit me up. You can hit me up at JD Plakiotis on Facebook. You can hit up, there's a MBX group on Facebook, MBX Revolution Racing, and we'd love to have you. So we're already in recruitment mode for next year. We had a great season this year. So that's it for now. Stay tuned. Thanks a lot, guys. Talk to you later.